In the AFC South, Houston's the favorite, Jacksonville's trying to get back on track, Indianapolis is trying to figure out their quarterback situations, and Tennessee just wants to show growth. This division may seem cut and dry, but in the NFL, things are not always what they expect. What's going on, guys? Dick's Report here, back to another video. Today we're talking about the AFC South, a division that you would think should be locked up by mid-season. However, we have seen it time and time again. What we expect is not always what we get. Let's break down this division, starting with the Houston Texans. Alright, with the Houston Texans, does this team finally get to the conference championship game? They have not made it to the conference championship in their entire franchise history. They've been in the league since 2002. They've gone to the playoffs, they've won playoff games, but they've never been to the conference championship. Their closest call was when they were up 24-0 against Kansas City that one year. We all know what happened after that. Anyway, does this team finally get there? Well, on the offense side of the ball, the receiver room is definitely a question mark to me. Nico Collins is a bona fide #1 receiver in this league, but Tank Dell is more than likely not gonna play football for a while, if ever again. So who steps up as the #2? Well, Christian Kirk was signed in the offseason. They draft Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel on day 2. So the Texans, they have options, but who's going to step up? Because Nico Collins is not going to be able to do this by himself. And CJ Stroud, as great as he has been his first 2 years in the NFL, the receiving corps is going to have to help him out. The other part of this is the offensive line. Laremy Tunsil was traded to Washington during the offseason. And Laremy Tunsil is one of the best left tackles in the NFL. Now, Cam Robinson was signed, and they also get Laken Tomlinson as one of their guards. Can the offensive line protect CJ Stroud? This is going to be big for the Texans. If they want to have success, they need to support their quarterback. Do they have the pieces in place for that? On the defense side of the ball, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson, they are just game wreckers at the edge position. This is a deadly duo. In the secondary, Derek Stingley is one of the top corners in the NFL. Not one of the top young corners, just one of the top corners in general. And then they get C.J. Gardner-Johnson in a trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. This secondary and this deadly duo at the edge is going to be good. I do wonder how the linebacking core is going to go. They did get E.J. Speed from Indianapolis in the offseason, and I had Henry, I believe it's Turu. I hope I said that right. I know I did not say that right. But I had him as a breakout candidate. I think this defense is going to be good, but how good are they going to be? And really, like I said, for the Houston Texans, this is a team that we've seen have good seasons, but they just haven't been able to put it all together and make the plays in the playoffs to get far. Could this change everything? Could this be the year that they finally put it all together and we see them competing for a Super Bowl in the conference championship? They can get there. Who knows what's going to happen? Anthony Richardson has not done a whole lot his first 2 years in the NFL. For every great play that he makes, he has 4 or 5 where you go, why was this guy the 4th overall pick? And then you have Daniel Jones coming in competing with him, and there's a good chance that Daniel Jones ends up being the Week 1 starter. Yeah, they have to figure this quarterback situation out because you have Jonathan Taylor at running back, and you have Michael Pittman Jr., who is another bona fide #1 receiver for the Colts. And then you draft Tyler Warren in the first round, a guy who everyone had as the top tight end in the draft. Could we expect a breakout rookie campaign from him? I'm expecting a breakout rookie campaign for him just because I expect him to play early and often. I expect him to be there Week 1 in the starting lineup and expect him to be the security blanket for whoever is quarterback there. But on the quarterback situation, Anthony Richardson has great talent. We know this. We know how physically gifted he is. A guy that runs as well as he does as big as he is, a guy that's 6'4", over 230 pounds or something. I might be wrong on the measurements. I didn't look over them, but yeah, he's a physically gifted athlete, but can he play quarterback at the highest level? And then Daniel Jones. I mean, Daniel Jones had some success with the Giants, just not enough to where he was considered a franchise quarterback. I mean, is there future quarterback on this roster? Probably not, but in the off chance that it is, they have to at least give it a shot. This is a big deal for the Indianapolis offense this year, and hopefully somebody steps up. But on the defense side of the ball, Laiatu Latu, I had as a breakout candidate, and I want him to be the first Colt to have double-digit sack numbers since Justin Houston back in 2019. That's the last time the Colts have had a double-digit sack guy. The last time. It's been a while. Can Latu be that guy? And then also, I want to talk about the secondary a little bit. Tre'Davious Ward and Cam Byron were signed in free agency. Nick Cross was a breakout player for them last year, was one of the leaders in tackles for the entire NFL. Kenny Moore is a pretty good nickelback, but does the secondary really have enough to where they're going to be able to hold up in coverage and do their job? That's going to be the big question. For Indianapolis, this is a good team. There's good players on there, but are they good enough to where they can compete for a playoff spot, maybe even steal this division from the Texans? It all just boils down to a few players stepping up on defense and then somebody taking control of that quarterback room. If both of those things happen, Indianapolis is going to be in just about every game this year. If it doesn't, it's going to be a long season for them. Jacksonville's fall from grace is a really interesting study. This is a team that won the division in 2022, won a playoff game, was in contention for the number one seed late in 2023 before falling apart and not even making the playoffs to being one of the worst teams in the NFL last year. And it cost head coach Doug Peterson his job. Now James Gladstone takes over, and while his saying of Duval was a little awkward at his press conference, hopefully he does good things for the Jaguars. Now, the biggest thing I do have is the receiving core. Who's going to step up and be the number two behind Brian Thomas, who had a terrific rookie season last year? He was one of the best rookies. Okay? We can talk about Travis Hunter all we want, but the point is, with him, we don't know where the majority of his snaps going to be coming from. Could he be the number two receiver with getting cornerback reps here and there, or is he going to be a primary corner that is more of a fourth or fifth option in the receiving core, or could he start at both positions? All options are on the table for Travis Hunter just because of what he did in college. But we're not going to know until the season starts and we see where he is on either starting lineup. But also in the receiver room, it's not just Travis Hunter. They also got De'Ami Brown in free agency. They still have Parker Washington, Joshua Cephas, I believe that's how you say his name. But who else is going to step up? Somebody has to step up and take that pressure off of Thomas and help out Trevor Lawrence. Now, Trevor Lawrence, he's had his inconsistent moments. It's not as bad as Anthony Richardson. There's a reason why Lawrence got the contract extension. However, he does need to play better as a guy that was a former number one overall pick that we thought of as a generational prospect. In hindsight, maybe we were putting too much pressure on him, but he also has to perform better, okay? And having somebody else step up in the receiver room is definitely going to help out with that. And I just want to say one thing about the defense. Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen, that's a deadly duo at the edge position. It's kind of funny how both the Texans and the Jaguars have a deadly duo at edge. Which one is better? I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. But also, who else on the defense is going to step up? And how is this defense going to look once the season starts? For the Jaguars, can they rebound, or do they continue to struggle? They could be the surprise team, or could be exactly what we expect. Tennessee used the number one overall pick on Miami quarterback Cam Ward. Now the big question is, what can we expect from his rookie season? Calvin Ridley is the holdover from last year in the receiver room. He's the #1 guy. Somebody that has had multiple years of 1,000 yards. They bring in Tyler Lockett and Van Jefferson in the offseason. Jefferson, while he hasn't been a star, he's had his moments as an NFL receiver, and Tyler Lockett has done great things in this league when he was with the Seahawks. And while he is a little up there in age, having a good veteran group at receiver, I think, is a good idea when you're dealing with a rookie quarterback like Ward and you want him to succeed right away. Now, I do have a question about the offensive line, mainly the fact that Dan Moore got over $20 million in the offseason when Steelers fans didn't think that highly of him as a left tackle. And yes, I know what your name tree would say about Dan Moore, and I know how shocked he was that he got that money, and I kind of do agree with him. I mean, Dan Moore definitely had his struggles as a Pittsburgh Steeler when he was their left tackle. But I do like the sign of Kevin Zeitler. Kevin Zeitler is still a really good guard in this league. Having a veteran like him, again, I think it's just going to help out Cam Ward, and the fact that he can get a lot of this advice from guys that have been in the league for a long time and know what a successful quarterback looks like at the NFL level. So I do think that's going to help him out. I just don't know if there's enough to really expect him to have a rookie season like a CJ Stroud or like a Jaden Daniels. I just don't think we can put that kind of pressure on him because I just don't think the Titans are there with the Texans and the Commanders to where they are right now. And on the defense side of the ball, Harold Landry's gone. So who's going to step up and be the #1 edge rusher for them this year? That's a big question because Tennessee has struggled to get to the passer the last few years, and now their #1 guy is gone. And also, who's going to step up on defense? They got L'Jarius Sneed last year, and he didn't do much for them. They got Draymond Jones, who was a cap casualty from Seattle. They still have Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons is one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, but who's going to help him out? This is really a year where I wouldn't expect too much from the Titans. I would just want them to have improvement and not be the worst team in the NFL again to where they had the first overall pick again. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Alright guys, those were my thoughts on the AFC South. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do the Texans run away with this division? Could the Colts figure out the quarterback situation? Do the Jaguars rebound? And how good do you think the Titans will be this year? Next up is going to be the NFC South. And as always, I'll see you guys next time.